Hi, today I have the pleasure to host Fabien Contaminard.
Hi everyone, I'm Fabien Contaminard. I'm a specialist solution architect in data warehousing. I joined Databricks 1 year ago and it's been a blast.
We recently announced the public preview of SQL Scripting, and I wanted him to give us more information and do a demo to show you how we can get started quickly with SQL Scripting. So, Fabien, can you tell us more about SQL Scripting, the advantages, and how we can get started?
Yes, absolutely. So SQL scripting is the implementation in Databricks from SQL procedural languages that were born probably like in the end of 80, early 90s in Oracle with PL SQL, with Sybase and Microsoft with T-SQL and so on. And it allows you to do things that you couldn't do in plain SQL, like in one query. It fits the name. So SQL scripting is about doing scripting with SQL. And scripting is like you can handle data pipe, you can build a whole pipeline, you can handle errors, you can process your data, you can do loops on arrays. It opens a lot of stuff for you to do in the platform with plain SQL. So the good thing that I love with this feature is like if you're a SQL guy, it's a kind of my case, and you get onboarded to Databricks, you may be a bit afraid of doing PySpark, learning a new language. You may feel you're not relevant anymore, but it's absolutely not true. You can do most of everything in SQL, and SQL scripting just add new flavor for that.
So I guess SQL scripting can be a good tool to help you maybe migrate your legacy data warehouse to Databricks. Basically, you can do, I don't know, looping for each, like everything you would have done in Python easily. Now you could do almost the same thing in SQL.
Yeah, exactly. And this is what I will show you in the demo. So SQL scripting is about having SQL compounds, which we sometimes shorten to blocks, where you can run any SQL query, any SQL command. So it's not only a query; it can be a create table, can be an alter table, and you can do some branching. You can run conditional. So let's say you want to evaluate what is in one parameter table, for example, and based on the condition, maybe you want to do one thing or another thing that may be completely different. Of course, if you can do it in a join, do it with a join. But if you're doing like two very different logic, maybe it's better to split it. And yeah, conditional branching for this is perfect. And as you said, we have loops also, loops like for loops. So you just spawn a query and you iterate through all the rows. And for each rows, you will want to do something. So again, don't replace your joins with that. This is not the goal. But sometimes to do some administration or some maintenance, you want to be able to do that kind of stuff. So if you're already a SQL savvy guy, probably is perfect. If you already done PL SQL and T SQL, it's not exactly the same syntax, but you won't be lost at all. You will recognize at least the patterns. And if you're super savvy in PySpark, it's kind of the same. So the language difference is a bit more versus PL SQL or T SQL.
So if I want to benefit or use SQL scripting, what are the requirements?
Yeah, you need a DBR 16.3 version minimum. So anything this version or above will work with SQL scripting.
Amazing. Can you show us how we can get started quickly? And for those who are watching this recording, we will share with you the notebook so you can do the same thing on your site. And we'll also add in the description of this recording the documentation so you know everything, so you can understand how you can use this syntax efficiently.
Mhm. Absolutely. So this is a lab we've run internally in Databricks, but it seems it's nice to show the features to everyone. So as you see, I'm using here a DBR 16.3 cluster. So I just have like some cleaning, setting variable commands. I don't drill down because it's not super important here. And here we're starting to have like the core of the product. So the core of the product of the feature, SQL scripting, is a compound statement. And basically it starts with a begin and it finishes with the end instruction. And anything between will be SQL scripting. So for here, I'm doing something super simple, just having a declare variable and selecting the variable. Nothing very fancy. You must your cell must start with a begin statement, otherwise it won't work. As you see, because here I've done the declare variable before doing the begin. So this failed. We are working on that, but currently this is a state. The good thing with the compound statement is that they can be embedded one into the other. So here, as you see, I have one principal begin statement. I'm using a variable, and I'm nesting two other compound statements inside. And this works perfectly. You can put some labels also on the compound statements, all beside the outer one. The most outer one can't be labeled today, but the inner ones you can label it. It can help to navigate through your different compound statements. This one works. So it's exactly mostly the same example than above. We've put some labeling here. One thing which is very good, so this fail is failing because actually, as you see, I'm starting a block one, but I'm finishing the block one before finishing the block two. So it's like reversed. So this is not allowed in the SQL scripting.
Yeah,
You
and
must.
even the error is straightforward. It shows that the beginning label
Yeah,
does not match
exactly.
the end, which is great. So don't need to debug a lot to find this error.
Absolutely. SQL is not, it's not like Python. So annotation is not super important. I mean, for the engine, because this is actually a valid statement. Of course, don't work like that because it's super messy and it's very hard to maintain. But it's really the keywords with the begin, the end, the semicolon that pilots, that navigate through everything. So this is valid, but please don't work like this.
But there is something you can use. If you click on the cell, you can indent the cell. Write down like /indent. It will, yeah, I think prettify. It's prettify. My bad. Prettify. It will make the cell. Here you go. And you can just accept it. So quick tip to improve your productivity.
Yeah. I was not aware of it. Thank you, Yusuf. Super amazing. Let's run some flow logic. So here, what I'm doing is I'm creating a Boolean variable, which I call variable. And basically, I'm just doing like a if against this variable. So I'm doing a first run. So in the first run, you see this variable is, so I'm going to block one, I'm going to block two. And as this is true, I'm leaving the block two. So I go back straight here. So this is my output, but my output is this one. If I switch the value of the Boolean and I go to false, so you see the output is changing. Now it's block two. So why is that? So this one now is false. We go to block one, we will go to block two. This one is false, so we don't do anything. We continue here. So I'm assigning the output variable at this step, and I'm leaving block one. And as block two is embedded into block one, I'm going straight here, and I can output the value, which is now block two. We have some variables, of course, into compound statements. So we use the standard syntax, which is a declare variable, the data type, and eventually a default. So you see you have like the long way to declare a variable or the short way. So here we are inferring the data type of the script. So you're declaring your variable with declare and you're setting your variables with the set command. Those variables, as they have been declared inside SQL scripting, they are not session variables. They are really like SQL scripting variables, and they are dropped at the end statement here. So here, if I want to print the same to the two variables values, I will run through it, but they have been forgotten. So we are getting an error here. Now I will declare a variable. So you see it's the same syntax, but as I don't have any begin end, they are not like SQL scripting variables. They are like session variables. So here I have the variable vivar1, and now I'm also creating another variable, vivar2. And So this is failing because I've used the short set command, and set command outside of SQL scripting is the one we use to put some parameters for Spark. So we don't allow it outside of SQL scripting. So this is why this one failed. But if I comment and I use the longest command set variable, now it works. We've declared the two variables var1 and var2 as session variables. So now they are existing and I can use it outside of SQL scripting, but I can also use them inside SQL scripting. And you see here, I'm creating two new variables with the same name inside SQL scripting, but they are both living together. So those two ones are the ones that I just declared here inside SQL scripting, and I can reference the session variable with a session keyword here, and I can get those values. So of course, this is not really good practice. Please try to be more creative with your variable names. But if for whatever reason you need to have some variables sharing the same name, this is a good way to differentiate it. And you can also create variables inside component statements. So here we have the same variables and above, and I'm creating a new block, and I'm also creating a new variables with again the same name. And those variables here, they are tied to the closest variables existing. So those one are using like the one from the blocks. So the session variables are still the same. But if I go outside of this block and I check it's really the same command here, we will get the value of those two variables. So those two variables weren't dropped when we declared this one. So they are living together. We are working also to extend the features to be able to reference variables using the labels. Actually into your variables, you can prefix them with the block. So as I'm using the label block here, so var1, var2, it's more clear. But of course, as I said, those variables will get deleted when we hit the end statement. So if I try to use them outside of this block, it's failing because those two variables has been dropped. So all the SQL statements that you can use in the component. So as you've seen, you have already done some declare and set variables. It's nice and fun, but you can do other stuff. So here I have another example where again something very simple. I have a logic, a branching logic. If something, then here I'm trying to do a create table and inserting some data. Otherwise, I will run a create view. So for now, I'm leaving it this one to true. I'm running the SQL scripting block. Quick way of how it works, we put the true here. So we went into this part of the if statement. So I've put a variable, which for the table name, and I created a table with the name from this variable, and I've inserted like one row again with the value of the table and some with the replace of the table just to replace the t by a call, and this is what I'm displaying here. I'm just selecting call from an item derivated from the variable here. If I go to false, so now we are going into the other part of the logic. And here you see I'm creating a table, but now I'm creating a view. And I'm just selecting the data from the view. And this is the good thing, because here I didn't change my finish statement, but in the middle I did two things very different. So here creating a table, inserting a row, and here creating a view. All in the same, all with one command for branching. So you can do some pretty advanced stuff here. Currently, in SQL scripting, we're only displaying the last result set from any select and values. So as you see here, I've put two values, but the one you get displayed is only the second one. You won't see this one. So don't use the values for doing like for doing like logs or breakpoints. This is something that will be that is worked on, but I have no commitment yet when we'll be ready to have multiple result set. When you're working with variable, you can directly apply some functions to the variables. You don't have to always do a subselect. So here I have something. So I'm creating like a basic array. And you see, I'm doing here, I'm taking the array, I'm exploding it with a select from, and I'm doing a bunch of operation just to change the format of the data. So I'm doing basically a subselect. But you can directly use the function in SQL scripting. So here I have no subselect. I'm directly using the transform function to change the value of my arrays. So as you see, the result is the same. Expanding a bit. But here I've done like the direct approach. And here I've done like a subquery with exploding and reaggregating the values. So if you can stick to the direct approach, it's more efficient. So branching, we already see some if condition. Here, something super basic. Is 1 strictly superior to 2? Of course not. So we are avoiding this branch, we are avoiding this one, and we are going straight to this one. So this one gets evaluated.
So you can rely on the assistant to help you understand those statements.
It's super handy, this assistant. So here I'm having exactly the same logic, but instead of using the if statement, I'm using the case statement. So this one is kind of the same, but written differently.
Different way.
Exactly, different way to do the case. Branching, so both if and case statement, you can't put labels in it. So if I'm trying here, and the parser will looping. So looping is where you start to do more things. So we have multiple ways to do loops. So we have the loop command, the while command, the repeat command, and the for command. The loop command, you can navigate with it with the leave and iterate. So if you don't do anything, it will loop endlessly. So don't forget to put some exit condition. So here I'm doing some looping. So I'm starting with a variable. If the variable is set to 3, I'm forcing an iteration. But if the variable is strictly above 5, I'm forcing to leave the loop. And otherwise, I'm just incrementing my value. So actually, for the counter 1, it's going here. This one is false, this one is false, this one is true. I go to 2 again. I go to 3. When I go to 3, I go into this branching. So I go to 13, but I'm iterating. So I'm bypassing all this. And when I go here, now I'm going here. I'm going to this branching and I'm leaving the loop. And this is how you're ending up with 13 as an example. While and repeat. So while and repeat works a bit like looping, but you have an exit condition. So for while, the exit condition is at the start. So while something, do something. So in this example, while the counter is inferior or equal to 3, just increment. And once we are getting to 4, we are exiting the loop. So same thing with the repeat loop. So it's the same result. So as you see, while is like an exclusive condition and repeat is like an exclusive condition. So for loops, this one is the most powerful one, probably the one you will meet the most, because you can put queries inside the loops. And here I have a very basic query with a select range, but you can run any query against your data. So again, warning: don't convert a join for a for loop unless you have very, very, very specific reason. But on 99.99% of the case, is a good choice to do. So here I have some logic. I won't detail it. It's not super important, but basically I'm just iterating like 10 times here and doing some logic at this. That's it for what I wanted to show you in the SQL scripting demo. There is other commands that I won't run, but you can try it by yourself. And if you have any question, feel free to post them into the comments of the YouTube video, and we will answer it for sure.
Yeah. So as Fabien mentioned, we'll upload this notebook to the GitHub repo. You can download it, use the runtime 16.3 at least, play with them. If you have any question, feel free to reach out and we'll make sure to answer all your questions. Thank you so much, Fabien, for being a super great guest, going into every single tiny detail, which is amazing. And see you soon.
Thank you,
Maybe
Seth.
to talk about stored procedures.
Maybe.